Is college worth it? That's the question that many Americans are asking themselves as more and more graduates find themselves unable to get a job and saddled with debt. In fact, 65% of Americans have student loan debt, and the average college student leaves school owing $24,000. According to a report by the New York Times, student loan debt is expected to reach $1 trillion this year, even surpassing the credit card debt epidemic in America. So what's a student to do? Well, Peter Thiel, the co-founder of PayPal, thinks that they should stop wasting their time and drop out. He started a $2 million fund that gives students who drop out $100,000 to work on projects that could be breakthroughs in technology and science. But which option carries more risk? Joining me from our studio in New York to discuss this is attorney Gennady Litvin, founder of Litvin Law Firm. Gennady, thank you so much for joining us tonight. So for starters, I want to hear from you. Do you think college is worth it these days?
Well, if I was an investor and I was looking at a college education as a based on return on my money, not today. I don't think it's a good investment.
Well, what about if you look at the unemployment numbers? I mean, after all, they're much lower for those who have a college degree. They're at around 4% versus those who only have a high school degree whose unemployment is at around 10%.
Well, even that being said, what is a person to do coming out of school today, this year, or next year? If somebody comes out with an average of $25,000 to $30,000 of student loans, the wages and the economy are not allowing for the income to be produced that's necessary to pay those loans back. I mean, sometimes what we're thinking about currently is inflation going to go higher than what we can afford? Is it going to help us avoid paying our student loans at all in the future?
Now, some people out there are speculating that a college education, that's the next bubble that's going to burst because people are going to realize that it's just not worth it and they're going to stop sending their kids to school. But do you think that's true? I mean, I feel like this is something that's been so ingrained in our culture. It's something that you're taught since childhood is that you go to school and then you go to college and that's the path in life.
Well, society demands it. Corporate America requires it. We know that if we want our children to have a good future and a successful one, in fact, we have to send them to school. The question is, however, are people more successful because of the education they receive over the 4 years, or is it because they're 4 years older? That's something that can be argued on both ends. So I don't really know what the exact answer would be.
All right, so are you going to send your kids to college?
Absolutely. Look, at the end of the day, we know that an education is going to help our kids. It's going to help everyone around our children as well. But if we're looking from a perspective of dollars and cents, right now, the investment in school is a bad one. We don't know if we're going to get a return on our money because we don't know what the schools are going to prepare us for and what the economy is going to allow us to bring in as far as income. Right now, it's difficult to actually gauge it as a good investment.
So then what would you recommend that people do? I mean, I'm curious, what do you think of this idea of Paul Thiel's where he set up a fund for $2 million? He's actually encouraging people to drop out of school and is willing to hand over $100,000 for them to, invest, to innovate, to come up with breakthroughs in technology. Is that really a good idea to encourage people to drop out?
Well, first of all, I want to mention there is most likely an alternative motive there. Let's say somebody comes to him and brings a great idea. He gives him $100 to invest. At the end of the day, that's going to be his to use. So the motive there is going to be, hey, bring me an idea, whether you're in college or out of college. It doesn't matter to me. I'm looking for new, bright ideas, and I'm willing to pay $100,000 for the next breakthrough. Is it a good thing to motivate kids to drop out of school? Absolutely not. I would recommend look for state institutions. Don't pay the high tuitions. If you can go to a state local school, go for it. It's going to be a lot cheaper. As long as you get your education, you're going to be well prepared.
Well, I'm wondering, when we look at Silicon Valley, we look at some of these tech giants, we look at people like Mark Zuckerberg, do you think that they're giving young people the wrong impression that, it's really easy to just drop out of school and to start this tech firm that you never know might become one of the biggest companies in the entire world? I mean, there's such an emphasis these days, I feel, on engineering and sciences and technology in school because that really is the next frontier. But how do you warn people adequately that not everybody's going to be the next Mark Zuckerberg?
Look, the motivation is there. Come up with your bright ideas. Don't limit yourself. Always come to your parents or to your teachers with some bright ideas. You never know what's going to happen. So you never want to limit yourself. You never want to motivate your kids in the wrong direction. But currently, the education is just necessary. Society demands it. Corporate America, Silicon Valley, they demand it. So it's like hitting the lottery. Mark Zuckerberg essentially did hit the lottery. Many of the innovators hit the lottery because they were at the right place at the right time and they had that idea and it just clicked. Essentially, you do need that education long term because you never know what that tech-savvy company is going to do in a year.
So if corporate America demands that you get an education, I guess it sounds like corporate America demands that you be in debt. It's definitely a tough situation out there. Gennady, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Alona.